Everyone, greetings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have a special guest here. Her name is Tahji. I'm going to let her introduce herself after this, but as you all know, I'm just going to be inviting special guests on to, encourage other believers, and so they can spread their gospel and spread their testimony on how God delivered them and saved them. So without further ado, Tahji, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, about your family, whatever you want other people to know about you.
Okay. Well, of course, hey, y'all. My name is Tahji, or Tajane Jackson is my full name, but I go by Tahji. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I am the oldest of four. Me and my family live here in Cedar Hill now. I attend Full Gospel Holy Temple, very well-known church around this world. And this year made 10 years that I've been living for the Lord. So I'm really grateful that he's kept me this long, this far. And yeah.
Amen. So, Tahji, how old were you when you first had your encounter with the Lord?
Very good question. I want to say how old was I? I probably don't remember the exact age, but I know that I was a little girl. And it sounds so sad, right? Like for me, I ain't gonna say I was a prophet or anything like that, but I know I used to have like dreams of being able to see who would pass. And I was like, Lord, why you do that to me? Not knowing that my mom was a little girl. She had the same, people call it a gift. Or sometimes it's just one of those things where, of course, they say deja vu. But it's been times where I would kind of see certain things ahead of time, and then like a week later it happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, Lord. If that was you, wow. If it wasn't, then, keep me ready, right? But I know that my encounter as I want to say a teenager, early on, like probably 12, preteen to 13 years old, I remember, maybe even 14, I remember dealing with a certain situation with my father. He has it's not a secret anymore, but he has diabetes or whatever. And I remember my testimony of, I had a friend over one time, and we were watching YouTube Live for our church. Randomly, I said, I'm gonna stay home tonight and just clean up the house. For one, Tajane takes care of her chores and her chores only. So cleaning up the whole house was never on my mind. But I had a guest over, and I was just like, you know what? I cooked and I cleaned, and I was like, I'm gonna just stay tonight, watch live. And so we started watching live, not knowing that it would be a moment where that was God using me in a situation, like what they say, under the blood, where it's like, why did I say that? I didn't recognize that I said that. My family didn't recognize that I said that. I just said, I'm not going to make it tonight. I'm going to stay home and clean and cook. Random. Not knowing that my dad was going to have a, what we call it, an episode, to the point where I found him unconscious in his room. There was nobody but God, because he would have been home by himself, right? Like he came home from work late, just, tired, ready to eat. I told him, did you want something to eat? He said, yeah. And I made him a plate, but he never came and ate. And I was like, where's my daddy? Where he at? And so I go in his room and find him unconscious. And it was nobody but the mighty strength of God. My little old self. I was able to pick up my dad from the area he was in and throw him across my back, put him on the bed, call 911 because his medicine was out. It was so amazing. You never think of why God had you be in a place. Being at the right place at the right time is a part of my testimony. I always look at it like you don't think back on things until something happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's why he had me stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he had me be, I guess more, what's it called, aware of my surroundings or aware of what's going on. And I was like 13 or 14 years old, not knowing that I had picture a 13-year-old trying to pick up their big old daddy.
Yeah.
And he ain't big like that, but he's way stronger than me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I picked him up with ease. That that David and Goliath type strength where
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, God, I see you. Um, but outside of that, of course, I got saved when I was 14 or 15 years old, right after that, back in 2013. So God's been with me ever since, and I just love it. I love
Yeah.
him. I love the experiences he put me through.
That's awesome. And I love to ask that question because when was your first encounter with God? Because that's that moment you never forget. That
Yeah.
first encounter with God. And that's when God reveals himself to you. And a lot of people don't realize God wants to reveal himself to you. I mean, you can listen to people preach all day, but it's not until God himself reveals himself to you to make you say, there is a God. And
Yes,
I
of
love to hear
course.
that. I love to hear other people's testimony to where they realize that there is the God. So
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that, Tahji. I love it. So have you always been a Christian your whole life?
I would say yes. My household is, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord.
That's
So
right.
I didn't know no other religions to go by like that. It came naturally to be a Christian. But of course, Christianity is a lifestyle. So therefore, I became a part of the Christian community when I gave my life over to God. So,
That's awesome.
yes.
So tell us your testimony on how God saved you. Like, what was it to where you was like, you know what? I'm sold out for Christ. Yes, I grew up in church, but no, God, I want to give you my life. Yes to your will. Yes to your way. What was that moment? What's Taji's testimony?
So Taji's testimony was before God saved me, I was probably the most rebellious little sneaky thing. I I remember being in middle school, first year going into not college, high school. So I was in sports. I was able to, I was the athletic child of the family completely. Like I was the one that fractured my ankle, twisted my knees, all that. I was just a rough child. I had a situation happen to me when I was younger that had me really think like, Tati, this is not you, right? And I remember just feeling burdened and like, your parents tell you or your family tell you or your pastor tell you, turn to God. He make every burden light. His yoke is easy. And it's like, everybody says that. Everybody says that. What am I supposed to do with that? Until, like you said, you get that one-on-one moment. And it
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. And I had this mentality where it's like, I've never been by myself doing something. I'm the first child. I'm the spoiled child. I'm the center of attention at times. Growing up, I had the most friends. All of that. I was able to do sports. I ran track and I did basketball. Like those are the things that I found fun to do in life. Until I realized when I gave my heart to God, and it was a Sunday morning. I never forget because I was just standing there, and my mom was the one who noticed that God was dealing with me in that entire service. I don't even remember if he preached or not, but I know there was a certain praise break that just had me standing there, and I was just looking out of it. I forgot I was even at church. I was standing there, and I was like, tears started flowing through my eyes, and I was like, what is it? Why am I feeling like this? Ain't nobody said nothing to me. Ain't nobody did nothing to me. This is normal. I see people shouting all the time. Why did it affect me this time? And I remember her just walking up to me saying, you ready? I said, I just shook my head. I was crying already. I was like, yeah. And I went to that altar, and Apostle Murray prayed me through, and I received the salvation and freedom and redemption that I needed 10 years ago. And I remember going back to school after that, and it was a complete turnaround. Like my friends changed.
Were you
They
still in high
praised.
school?
I was still in high school. I was 10th grade.
Wow.
10th grade.
Wow.
I was still in high school. I went back. It was like a little break we had. Like, I don't know if it was spring break or what. We had a break for about a week and a half, and we were able to return back to school. I went back to school. I finished the semester out because, yeah, it was spring semester. I finished that semester out for those 6 weeks, and I came back, and everybody was like, why you acting like that? And like, for one, think about it. I've always worn skirts my whole life. So me pretending to be somebody else, it just never worked
Mhm.
unless I presented myself as a center, right? And so I remember this one guy in class. We had a substitute teacher come in, and she said, once you finish your work, you're free to be on your phones and be quiet, or everybody else, do whatever you want to do, type thing. Just don't distract the class. And so I took it upon myself to watch YouTube live of a sermon.
Mhm.
I'm sitting in class while they up here playing all that crazy music, laughing, cussing, not doing their work. I finished my work. I sat there and I was like, you know what? Ain't nothing else for me to do. I put my headphones in. Back then, I had headphones instead of AirPods. Put
Right.
my headphones in, and watched the service from my church. And this guy looked over my shoulder. He said, "Are you watching church? This is when you watch church." And I was like, I've been raised in church my whole life. God saved me. And that was the first time I was able to admit it
Wow.
and know it. And I
Yep.
was just, yeah, God saved me. And
Yeah.
I'm watching my church.
Yeah.
I'm watching my church. I don't have the desires anymore. I remember I literally, after that semester, I got out of sports. I took an art class and got into Spanish. I was like, okay, I'm doing things. And then, lo and behold, after that, so you know how they say everything look new, you're able to start fresh. It's like a fresh start.
Mhm.
10th grade year was my last year living in Oak Cliff, going to life school Oak Cliff, where I tell them that was my sinning days. That was the old Tahji. Anybody that met me after 10th grade know nothing about my past, know nothing about what I used to be, what I used to do, unless I tell them. Right. So it was a fresh start, and nobody but God did that for me, because I was like, I don't know how to live safe by myself. I feel like I needed friends to live this life, because I've never had to do nothing by myself. Like, even going to church, I never had to go to church by myself. I never lived by myself. I never, went to school by myself. I always had a friend from church or one of my siblings. We all a year apart. So it's just, nothing was by myself until I started serving God. And in that moment, I was like, Lord, I share this testimony too to add to that. I remember being in church, living safe for a little while, singing in the choir, just me being, a new creature in Christ. And
Mhm.
I remember allowing the enemy to get to my mind and tell me that, oh, you can't do this by yourself. You're not going to make it overnight. And this was months into already being saved.
Mhm.
And I remember one of my friends answered the altar call with another friend of mine. And when she got saved, that was my cue that God can keep anybody and that God can change anybody, and
Mhm.
that I will not be alone
Mhm.
living this life. I
Mhm.
was so grateful. I've never told her that testimony to herself, because I don't want her to be like, oh, you the reason I say. No.
Right. Yeah.
God had to show me that there are people that He's making, a part of this village. Yeah, a part of this village, to be able to stand strong. And even
Yeah.
then, I'm believe it or not, I'm not even super close to that friend anymore. And I'm the one that's still living for God. And it's wild how God put people in your place for a season to get your attention, and
Mhm.
then it's like, okay, you good now. You
Yeah.
don't need to no more. Keep
Mhm.
moving. God
Mhm.
got you. I got you.
Mhm.
And yeah, I could go on and on about just different points of how my testimony came to be.
Mhm.
Um, because we always been singing in church. We always did, and it was a testimony of versus doing what mom and daddy tell you to do versus doing what your convictions towards God is.
Yes.
Now I do everything because I want to do it for God, not
Mhm.
because mom and daddy tell me to. I'm grown anyway, but it's one of those
Mhm.
things, like, you had to grow. I had to grow up for myself
Yeah.
and just learn that the way He orchestrates life. is the best way to orchestrate life.
Yes.
So
Yes, I love that. I want to circle back around about how you said you were saved in high school.
yeah.
Want to expound on it. How was that being saved in high school? Because a lot of people, they would say, well, those are just kids. You can't really live saved. You can't really walk this wall because you in high school. You got to do what everybody want to do. And not only that, peer pressure. It's real.
Oh yeah.
You
It
know,
is.
you see other people doing this, or you want to conform to be like them, not knowing God wants you to be separated and be sanctified. So talk about that. Talk about how it was being literally in high school around other peers and still conforming to Christ and walking in holiness.
I tell people to this day, it's only hard when you make it hard.
Mm-hmm.
I had, like I said, I wasn't by myself. I had my little sister. I had one of my friends from church, but we had moved and started going to Cedar Hill High School. Like I said, so junior year, senior year, that was my last 2 years of high school. I was able to be a whole new, brand new person. Like people have never met me before. It was just like a clean slate. So I went in wanting to win souls.
Wow.
So when we moved, I was already what they call on fire for God. In your first few years, you're like, I want to tell everybody about Jesus.
Right.
That was my goal every day.
Yeah.
I probably was called holy roller. You talk too much. You always want to talk about Jesus type.
Yeah.
And I was fine with it. It was the fire that was in me at the time that just made it easy. Now, the only things that made it hard was, of course, the what they say, naysayers and everybody that just look at you is like, so you don't do all of this, you don't do all of that. No, there's no way. I promise you it is. I promise you it is.
Yes.
Okay. When you're serious about walking with God, it'll come naturally. Now, it also wasn't a hard task for me in a way because I was sheltered. I never looked on things like other people who get saved that maybe they were addicted to drugs, addicted to having sex, or addicted to what's it called, lying, cheating, stealing, all this stuff. I wasn't like that. So things I was able to testify about, people were amazed. I was like, what was I, 16 by that time? They're looking at me like, you ain't never done this. You ain't never worn that. No. I had those type of questions. And then you had those moments where it's like, I remember sitting in my algebra class and this girl, to this, I forgot that it was her. She does hair now. Wow. She has her own business as well. She told me one day that she didn't kill herself last night because she saw God in me. And I sat there in class like, what? You know, like you could tell that she wasn't like happy, but not to the point where she was thinking of committing suicide. And I said, I'm grateful, but that's God.
Yeah.
It wasn't really me. I lived a life. I went to school thinking about let your light so shine before men so that he can get the glory. He will see the good works, everything. And I'm like, okay, I was amazed. That was my first encounter of somebody telling me that, my life was enough to keep them from killing themselves.
Jesus.
I said, okay, I'm in this for real. Like, okay, Lord. Like, after that, I was like, I'm upholding the standard. Ain't nobody changing my mind no more.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here to stay. I'm going to be the example that you called me to be, whether people like it or not. There was teachers that came up to me and just said, I admire your walk with God. I love how you dress. It's like those little compliments that built my faith in my walk as a high school student. Yes, you had people that would, I remember sitting next to one guy, and the Lord worked behind the scenes. I remember taking a test in my English class, not knowing that I got cheated off my paper. And the teacher was like, who sat next to so-and-so, or who had we didn't even know that there were different versions of the test. So he got mad when he got his paper back and looked at me and was like, he cussed at me. He was like, you dumb, blah, blah, blah. I copied off of you and I failed. I got a 0. I said, I don't know how, because I got 100.
Yeah.
He looked at me with he was as high as a kite. Right after he said that, he started throwing up on and near the desk on the floor. The teacher was like, for those of you, she already knew that I was gonna ace it, right? Like, she had confidence in me. I was one of her. She put me up for one of her best students of the year, all of that. So she was like, not like favorite student, but she could tell that I, excelled. And
Mhm.
so I remember her going to the front of the class. It's like people try to lie on you, they try to cheat off you, they try to make your name bad, and it's like God says, you can try, but you won't succeed.
Right.
Even in high school, he
Mhm.
fought my battles. When I
Mhm.
got out of high school, went to college, he fought my battles.
Mhm.
And it's just been, I tell people to this day, God has favored me so much that I'm spoiled by him doing things for me.
Come on. Mm.
Whenever he don't come around in the snap of a finger, and he's not a snap finger God, but he does things for me so quickly that when it don't happen, I'm like, what I do wrong?
Yeah.
Did I do something?
Yeah.
What did I not pray about? Did I seek you long
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah.
read the word long enough? What did I miss? Did I not get an understanding? Because
Mhm.
he does this thing where he just comes through for Tajane. My
Mhm.
aunt Reese, she always tell me, she was like, girl, favor is on your back.
Yeah.
Every job I've applied for, I got.
Wow.
Every test I took, I passed. And I
Mm.
was okay. And I mean, God has spoiled me in
Yeah.
this walk. And
Yeah.
it's amazing because you never think on it like God did this until you live in for God and realize who the creator of all things, the author and the finisher. He makes these things happen to
Mhm.
prove who he is. And what they said, the song says, he's been better than good to me.
Yes. Wow. Wow. I love it. Oh, girl, you got me excited. Good God. Oh, man. I love when people just tell of God's goodness because there's no error in him. There's no wrong
Mm-mm.
in him. It's just, oh, girl, it gets me excited. I done start sweating over here because,
Oh,
girl, I love it. I love the testimonies of the righteous, of people just, oh, God is just so good. I love it. So let's move into the next question. So, can you tell us about some challenges you had to face during your walk with Christ? What were they and how did you overcome them? The most important thing I want you to hone in is how you overcame them because, we have problems living as a Christian. We're going to face tribulations, but what
oh yeah.
people get hung up on is how to come out of it. How do you get out of it? A lot of people, they turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to things of the world. But we as believers, we need to teach other people, turn to God, turn to Christ. And what were some of those challenges for you and how did you, what was your strategy on how you went to God and pursued God and you just overcame them?
Um, I know for me, it took a fasting and a praying. I remember my first year fasting. My church does a corporate fast for 3 days. It was my first one ever. I want to say about 5 years ago now, probably a little longer than that. And I just kept praying and asking God to, let me have that encounter that people talk about going in their secret closet, praying, and, the things that you pray about privately, God will reward you publicly,
Mm-hmm.
and all these other little things. And it didn't happen. I was just like, okay, am I doing something wrong? You make you question yourself. Am I saved, Lord? Am I really filled with the Holy Ghost? Like, I want to be able to speak in tongues outside of church. I want to be able to get on my knees and cry out and know that you're here with me. To me, it's a different atmosphere in church and things where it's like, oh, we amongst believers. We all on one accord. He come in and like a mighty rushing wind, and then you at home. And it's real, because when they say it's quiet, you can hear a pin drop on the
Yeah.
carpet. You're
Yeah.
like, Jesus,
Yep. Yep.
hello,
Yeah.
hello. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, 2020 was
Mm-hmm.
the year for me that I was able to get in that secret place.
Mm-hmm.
Turn from all wicked ways to carnality, just close up the world, close up my room,
Mm-hmm.
and just hear God.
Yes.
And I was amazed too because, back then everybody was trying to be spiritual in 2020. So I didn't want to make it look like it was just like, oh, I'm just doing this because Jesus is coming soon, and I'm scared. And I wasn't scared. I really wanted that. People don't know that I've been waiting for that since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to go deeper now. What they say, you can see and feel his Shekinah glory. I witnessed that.
Mm. Yeah.
Like it filled the room. And
Yes.
I wear glasses. I've been 4-eyed since second grade.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
in that moment, yeah, my mom, I blame my mom.
right.
In that moment, I was so amazed with his glory that I had to really make sure that it was him. I had to really make sure that I was in this moment. So I took my glasses off to see. I need my glasses to see.
Yeah.
But when he show you something,
Come on. Come on.
I took them off.
Come
And I
on.
was like, oh, I'm seeing this for real. This is you. This is it. And my faith, when I say it went from, if it was at a level 10, it's at 1,000 now. There's nothing that I don't believe God can't do.
Come on.
Our bond is tighter. Like when I say I pray about every little thing, I pray about, and I used to make fun of people. I'd be like, why are you praying over your chips, girl? You prayed this morning? You'd be like, you get into it. You're like, okay, Lord, bless me on this walk. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, Lord, bless me to be able to say the right words today. You
Yes.
never know how your words affect people because our tongue is probably our biggest weapon. The Bible talks about that. And we speak life and death and things. And people call me spiritual, holy brother, old soul girl. I'm okay with that. Whatever keeps me closer to Jesus, I'm gonna do. So it take the fasting and praying. I know I don't have them up here with me, but I know we have this thing. I say we because I talked about my friends before, where there's been moments where we had Bible studies that kept me going, right? Like everybody was willing to learn more about the Word, so we can know more about God. His God is His Word. So the more you know about Him, the more you can deal with certain situations without having to just, oh, what the scripture say again? I just want to,
Mhm.
if it's in your heart, if it's on your mind, it's in your soul. It's gonna, whatever you put in, it's gonna flow out. So. Um, I know it takes, those hardcore Bible studies sometimes, and whether it's with yourself or friends. I make these. I've made a lot, so I haven't made them in a while because I have so many already. It's like, okay, how many more scriptures can you write? I have these little note cards of different reminders of like in moments where you're emotional, in moments where you're not feeling so logical. The Word has answers for everything, your finances, your love life, the way you talk and be with your friends, how you witness, even how you eat.
One.
Cause gluttony is a sin. You up
Talk
there,
about it.
you don't need no more food.
Talk. Come
Your
on.
stomach coming up to your chest. You like, wait a minute, I can't swallow. You
Talk,
better stop.
talk about it. That's
Cause I
it.
love me some food. But it's little things that until you read His Word, you won't know about it. And then, of course, thank God for shepherds and pastors and everything that are able to kind of like, if you miss over something, He gives them a revelation. And now you have a better understanding, and you can put that in your summary of like, okay, I can add this too. Like, there's different ways to explain the scripture that better fits your understanding. God has all, and there's study Bibles and commentaries for everything, and for a reason. I know I read at the KJV, but there's moments where I'm just like, okay, thou art what?
Right.
I need
Right.
little more English version. Okay, so um, yeah, I know the effects of prayer. I know the moments of prayer. I know the experiences of prayer. Prayer is my biggest weapon. It should be everybody's, but I know for me, um, some people may get joy and revelation out of watching videos on YouTube of spiritual things. For me, it's praying. I got in a car accident about 2.5 weeks ago, and when it kind of it broke me and gave me a little bit of fear and anxiety, and I've never lived like that. I've always been confident about things I did or sure in things I did because my family taught us to be like that. And I remember for 2 days straight, I just felt so down. And I was like, this is not me. The enemy tried to put in my head that the people was talking about me behind my back, saying that I don't know how to drive, or people always hitting me because I got a target on my back. The enemy tried. I'm just like, nobody ever said these words, Tahji. No one ever said this. You're putting stuff in your mind because the enemy is allowing you to. So I had to get on my knees. I didn't, it be them quick prayers. I just fell to my knees in tears and said, God, I don't know how to feel, but I know I need your peace. That's all I said. Not knowing that same Tuesday night I was going to go to church, and my pastor went across that pulpit and said, I know God going to give somebody some peace tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about sitting there holding tears back, just looking through my Bible like, okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You still got me.
Yep.
Right? And the situation is going according to the way it's supposed to. God is working behind the scenes. I gave it over to him because it was a little friction between faults and everything. And now I'm just like, you know what? I know it wasn't my fault. I
Mm-hmm.
know I did it. It was words against mine. No one asked all the questions. I can go into a whole rant about that, but prayer is my biggest weapon. That's how I overcome things the most. I get on my knees and I pray because there's nothing else that I know to do that works so quickly and on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
I pray and God answers.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, I agree with you on that too. Whenever my kids they have a little headache, to stop, come here, let's pray. I just lay
Mm-hmm.
like I'm gonna. They know
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pray because
Yeah.
we ain't got to. Let's just pray. Let's talk to God. Let's give it to God. Talk to God about it. So
Give
I
it to God.
agree with you on that. That's one of my biggest weapons as well too. So I know that you have touched up on this during throughout your testimony, but I kind of want you to hone in on this. Tell us about a time where God came through for you, like a time that you are not going to forget. You don't care what happens. I mean, I know greater times are going to come, but for now, what's that one time to where you like, God, I know God came through for me?
I mean, he did it recently.
Yeah.
I want to say back in February. I don't know if I did post it on Facebook because I was amazed with God.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had an experience like that before. What they say, you have history with God. This is going to my history book with him because I was on my way to work. I got to be at work like every day at 6 a.m. So I was on my way to work. It was around 5 or something in the morning. Real dark on the street, rainy, just ugly outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the freeway. And clearly, the end result was that I needed some new tires in the back and didn't know it. But at the end of the day, I was driving on the freeway, and it's normal around that little area is a more busier freeway, and I just started hydroplaning. I tapped the gas to get over to another lane, and my car just said in circles at least 2 or 3 times in the middle of the freeway. I could have been hit. My car could have been totaled. It could have flew over the bridge because I was on the bridge. I was like, God.
Mm.
I and my brother-in-law make fun of me now because I told him, I said, I closed my eyes, I took my hands off the wheel. It sounds so unrealistic and dumb at the moment, but that's what I did because Jesus took the wheel.
Yes, yes.
I was turning. And when I say he put me in a perfect parallel facing traffic on the pavement side, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I had to sit there because I was like, did this really just happen to me? We're not inches away from being completely hit against that, those little barriers that they have on the freeway. I could have hit that, flipped over. That's how fast and how quick my car was moving and turning. I said, I just sat there. I had to make a post about it before I even walked into work because I said, if y'all see me in a moment, I'm so shook up and built in my faith that God is real. If I had to, I started praising God at work, and thank God I work with Christians, people that at least believe in God, so they didn't look at me funny. I was clapping my hands, lifting my hands, and telling God, thank you, because I could have been dead. The way that happened is how I look at the glimpse of when he said, I'm like a thief in the night coming. in a glimpse, in the blink of an eye. That's how fast I could have been out of here. I'm telling you, God is real. I told him, I said, the fact that he put me in a perfect parallel, like my driving test had no comparison. Okay, he did that. I'm on the freeway looking at the traffic coming towards me, and I'm just over here to the side. You know what I did? I was in so much shock. I turned my blinker on as if I was making a U-turn and just got back on the freeway and went to work. I said, this really just happened. And I mean, the path was clear. I know I seen spinning in those circles. It was an 18-wheeler on my right side. It was a van on my left side, a sedan-looking car coming from behind me. Not a single car hit me or swerved.
Woo.
He took that car and moved it out the way himself. I told him, I said, the Lord can grow a leg back.
Yes. Yes.
No limits.
Yes.
My faith is built.
Yes.
He can grow a whole leg back. Where the arms at? Hook it on.
Right.
He finna do it.
Yes.
My faith is something. Call me crazy.
Yes.
Call me lunatic. I believe God can do anything. Anything. When he does a thing, he does it well. And to this day, I tell people about that testimony because that was the thing that made me realize that they say you don't know something until you experience it. You hear people testimonies all the time, like in a car accidents and they walking out, no pain, no broken bones. For me, it's like I could have been dead. My car could have been completely total. I wouldn't have made it to work. And yet.
So did you walk out with any cuts, scrapes?
Nothing. I walked into work a whole different person. People that followed me on Facebook at the time, the co-workers, they was like, are you okay? I said, y'all, I've never been better. Okay, I had a whole different attitude that day at work. Not that I'm two-faced or, different attitudes, but that day, every time somebody brought up anything, I was like, God can do it. Believe me, I know.
You didn't have to go to the hospital or nothing.
Nothing. Not no whiplash, not no injuries, no bruises, no sores. My car was in perfect tip-top shape. Nothing got scratched, bent, nothing. It was just a spin around, and boom, parallel to the barrier. Inches away from hitting my car so hard to the point of impact where you're like, okay, Lord, this is my time. That's how I froze up. Nothing. I stopped and I opened my eyes. I was in the perfect parallel park and I see all these other car lights coming towards me. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm about to get hit, but I wasn't in the way at all. No one would have hit me unless they just decided to turn and hit me. I was amazed.
I love that how you said in the midst of that chaos, you just took your hands off the wheel.
I took it off.
If somebody can catch that revelation, just take your hands off. Let God be God.
I had to. And it sounds so crazy because you're like, why would you let go of the wheel? Y'all, that's the first thing that came to me. Jesus, take the wheel. I yelled Jesus one time. I said, Jesus. And that was it.
What car? Did a car hit you? Or you said you hydroplaned?
Nothing. It was from a hydroplane. So it was really wet, rainy, pouring down. It's like, Lord, please, I don't want to be stopped or anything in this type of weather. You just want to get to where you're going and be there. Yeah. And I was on my way to work. I wasn't even speeding.
Jesus.
Speed limit 75. I was going 50. Yeah. I was like, God. Because people make fun. I know I can drive fast sometimes, okay? But I wasn't even speeding this time, Lord. Wow. Yes. And it's just the grip that it didn't have on my back tire. Because when I went, to go get my car checked out and everything, it did let me know that they did let me know that, hey, my I want to say my back left tire was the one that was a little loose in its traction. So it didn't grip the water when I was trying to turn into another lane. And I mean, hey, I got that fixed real fast. But it was just, it was a moment that I was just like, How did I survive this? How? Tell me, Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man.
Unexplainable.
Right. Oh, that is the goodness of God, the hand of protection that is on your life.
That.
Oh man, I love it. So, Taji, I am blessed by your testimonies. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can go all day. I'm
All
pretty
saying,
yeah,
I'll tell you.
I love it. So, before we wrap up, what are some encouraging words you want to give to someone that is struggling in their walk with Christ?
Um, First, my first thing would be like make sure that you are living for Christ. You know, you count up the costs, like the word says. Uh, are you seeking Him? Are you praying? Are you fasting? Fasting is a big part. Some for me, fasting is what brought me to the point on my knees.
Mhm.
Um, Not having things when I wanted it, or not being able to do things when I wanted to do it. Um, I want to encourage somebody today that this too shall pass. I went through a situation where I was just like, Lord, when am I going to be out of this? When am I going to stop struggling? When am I going to stop looking at things like I can't, like it's overbearing? His yoke is easy, his burden is light. Let your light shine. God has it. What they say, He got it in the bag.
Yeah.
You're safe, you're secure. Live peaceably with all men. It's going to work out. Um, Stay faithful in His word. Because people get that mixed up. You can be faithful to church and still live like a demon.
Come on. Come on.
You don't want to do that. You
Mhm.
want to live for God and God alone. Make sure you are not just reading your word, but studying your word. Because they say that, at least to young people. You in your word? Yeah, I read it today. What did you read? I don't remember because, I mean, I just wanted to make sure I read it today.
Mhm.
Get in there and study. Take notes. Take notes. People forget that notes are very important. Take your notes. Um, Listen to, different sermons if you can. Worship music. You ain't gotta listen to everybody shouting all the time, because sometimes that don't do nothing besides make you more carnal and stress the flesh. Worship, where it causes you to be quiet and listen and seek His face. So yeah.
Yeah. So what encouraging words would you tell someone that a first person that wants to know Christ for like the first time? Just say they're not like you or other people. They didn't grow up in church. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know God. They've heard of God, they heard of Christ, but they kind of want to give him a chance. What are some encouraging words you would tell that person that wants to be a believer?
It's a very good question. I've never thought of that before, honestly. Because people have always come to me and said they want to live for God, but they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for somebody that has never even encountered what Christianity is like, um, it takes discipline. I want to say if you know you, and I'm not gonna tell nobody just don't live for God because you don't have discipline. If you realize the discipline that Jesus had to die on that cross, you'll realize the discipline for us comes way more easier. Um, he did not have to do it, but he did. We, he gave us choices for a reason. We don't have to live for him when we don't want to. Will your life be as peachy? No. But think about it. This is a suffering way, so it takes a certain mindset to be a Christian. So look at it in the eyesight of, as long as I got Jesus, I don't need nothing or nobody else. Um, of course, Jesus, God specifically, is the creator of the universe. So they have to first believe that He is who He is, who He say He is, that He actually was here on earth to live the life in human flesh, and realize that everything you go through, He probably already went through it and then some. Your burden, your situation it's no match for Jesus. What they call, I have friends that go, he dominates.
Yeah.
Okay, he make it happen. he
I love,
dominates
yeah.
anything you put towards him. It's
Yeah.
like you think, is this too heavy for you, Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Good girl, nothing is too heavy for him.
Right. Right.
We the ones that cause the weights.
Come on. Come on. Yeah. So true.
So understand the discipline of it. Realize that it is something worth living for, because if you find the worth in it, just like anybody see a house, it's like, ooh, this house got some, some features in it. I want that. It's worth the money, so I'll take it. Look at Jesus like that, but in a higher reverence of like, oh, he actually controls life and death. So I think I choose to live for that one over the ones that you gotta look at and see if they listening or see if they real. All these false gods, kick them to the curb. They ain't doing that for you. They not. And our faith is built on I'm trying to remember the scripture so I won't misinterpret it. Walk by faith, not by sight. Your faith. You gotta have faith. You gotta believe. That's the first thing for anybody that's Christian. You have to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So find the belief in knowing that he's real and knowing that it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I think you hit on some.
Right.
I think you hit on some key points. Help somebody, like you said, believing. That's the number one thing. I thought about that a couple of weeks ago, Tahji. It's so many religions out here. It's so many false gods out here, but Christianity is the number one. All he asks, just believe.
Yes.
Believe. Do you believe?
Just believe.
And if you believe, baby, the journey is, he gonna walk you through it. And that's
For
what
sure.
Spirit is here for, to guide us through that. So I love those points that you hit up on, Tahji. And I know that somebody's going to be blessed by your testimonies that you have given. To God be the glory. Do you have any handles, social media platforms that anybody can reach out to you? If somebody might see this video, they might want to ask you to pray with them, or reach out to you and might go deeper besides just this video. What are some social media handles they can reach you on?
Yeah, I have pretty much everything. I have Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. I now have TikTok because I'm trying to get on these, new world stuff, only because I want to be up to date with all these crazy things that's coming into this world. But I know you can follow me on Facebook, and through Facebook you'll be able to see all my other social medias. It's Tahji Jackson. That's TahJinae, and then space, another capital T, AHJI''S, Jackson, JCKSON. So find me on Facebook, DM me, message me, whatever. I'm out for summer break anyway, so
Right.
I'm willing to speak and talk, whatever I need to do.
Yeah. So we're just gonna plug you in right quick. So everybody that's in the DFW area, to go ahead and tell them about your business.
Okay, I
want to
appreciate
come
that.
and eat, Yeah. So tell them about that.
Okay, so I'll be forgetting I have business. This is my breakup. So I do have a food catering company business, whatever you want to call it, called Tahji's. I specialize in Southern gourmet comfort food. I'm sure you all will be able to see all of my delicious meals and things I come up with through my social medias. And yeah, it's been about this year I made 2 years, I believe, since I started my business. I'm so grateful. It's been growing and growing, and yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is a blessing as well, too, to see kingdom-minded people and kingdom entrepreneurship. That is awesome. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Tahji, for giving your testimony. It is a blessing. I just love it. I love it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.